it's Chris here of Light and Joy Designs, and welcome back to the Crochet Magical Mystery Tour. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Reversible Lattice Cowl. It has two sides. This is the side with the Surface Crochet, and this is the side that is woven. And both sides are made with the same lattice construction. And I'm going to show you how to make this really cool cowl that you can wear two different ways. Let's get started.
So for this project, at the very least, you're going to need, you'll need at least 2 skeins of yarn. And you'll need one in worsted weight and one in a thicker weight, like what I'm using, Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, which is a number 6 yarn. But if you don't have any of this kind of yarn, you can double up on another worsted weight yarn and just use multiple strands. And I'll show you that later on when we're making the pattern. But for today, for mine, I'm going to be using 2 colors of worsted weight and 2 colors of a number 6 weight yarn. These are both Lion Brand Thick and Quick, Wool Ease. This one is Eden, and this one here is Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher. This is, I love this yarn in Periwinkle. This is Red Heart Super Saver Accent in Bright Orchid. And then I also have I love this yarn in Navy. But like I said, you only need 2 colors at the very least to make this pattern. I'm going to make mine reversible with 2 colors on each side, 2 different colors on each side. So that's why I have 2 worsted weights and 2 of the number 6 weights. You'll also want a measuring tape. You're going to want one size. I'm using a 6.0 millimeter for my worsted weight portion for making the lattice. And I'm going to use, depending on whether you're going to work your number 6 weight either single-stranded, you'll need an 11.5, or if you're going to work it double-stranded, you'll need a 15 millimeter. You'll also need a yarn needle. There's very few ends to weave in, just a couple, and scissors. Okay, so let's take a look at row 1. For row 1, we are going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to slip stitch to the very first chain. So let's take a look at that. We're going to start with a slip knot. To make a slip knot, you're just going to cross over your yarn. This is the tail end, and this is the working end, and then we're just going to pull the yarn up through that loop there and put that on the hook. Then just tighten it up to the size of your hook. Again, I'm using a 6.0 millimeter hook with a worsted weight yarn. And to do a chain, you're just going to yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. And you're just going to make 8 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to slip stitch to the very first chain. I'm going to go under 2 of these threads in the first chain. Then we yarn over, pull that through, and then pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's row 1 completed. Let's take a look at row 2. So for row 2, we are right here. We just made this slip stitch. We've basically made the first little triangle. Now we're going to chain 5. The first chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Then we're going to make a double crochet into the 6th chain, and I'll show that to you when we get there. Then you're going to chain 2, and also into that 6th chain we're going to do an extended double crochet. Very easy. Let me show you how to do that. Okay, so this is where we left off. I'm going to grab the working end and we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to go to the 6th chain, which will be 1, 2, 3 chains in this direction from your slip stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and into that chain we're going to do a double crochet. So just turn the work around, yarn over, go into that chain, yarn over, pull through a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and as you can see we're actually kind of the flip side of this row 2. So now we're going to work our extended double crochet into that same chain, and to do that it's just you start just like a regular double crochet. You yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. Now instead of yarning over and pulling through 2, we're going to yarn over and pull through 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through 2. And that makes it just a little bit longer than a double crochet, which will make our top edge the right size. Okay, so let's take a look at row 3. Okay, so this is where we left off at the end of row 2. We're going to chain 4, and that's the equivalent of an extended double crochet plus 2, so you're chaining a total of 6. Then you're going to double crochet right into this extended double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet into the 3rd chain of your chain 5. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So here we are. We're kind of, our triangle is right now on the opposite of our picture. So if we turned it over this way, we match up like this. Okay, so now we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn our work, and right into this extended double crochet, right into this spot here, we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook. Sometimes you have to kind of push it around like that. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Then we're going to do a double crochet into this double crochet. Three loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, and then we're going to do a double crochet into the 3rd chain. So here's, we're looking at the back bumps here of these chains. So there's 1, 2, 3. So yarn over, I'm going to go into that third chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is row 3 completed. Okay. So now from here on out, we're basically repeating row 2 and row 3. So let me just illustrate it for you here. Row 4 is going to start out exactly the same way as row 2. You are going to chain 5, double crochet into the double crochets, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet into this stitch here, the number 4 stitch, or the third stitch from the last double crochet. I guess you could think of it that way. You're going to double crochet into that one, then chain 2, and then do an extended double crochet into that same chain. So let's do that together. Okay, so here we are where we left off. There's our triangle. You can see it matches up with the first 3 rows. So now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn your work. And then we're going to go into this space right here at the top of our double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go into that space under that V right there, yarn over, pull through a loop. Just kind of twirl that back. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2. We're going to double crochet into the next double crochet. There's our space right there. Yarn over, go into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, and now we're going to go into the third chain from this last double crochet. So there's 1 back bump right there, there's the next one, and there's the third one. Okay, so this is our chain right here, so I'm going to yarn over, go into that chain. I like to go under 2 of the threads of the chain. Yarn over, pull through 1, and then we go yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, and now we're going to do an extended double crochet right into that same spot. Yarn over, go into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so we can see our triangle is starting to develop here. So for row 5, it's going to be basically the same as row 3. And we're going to start off with chaining 6, which the first chain 4 is the equivalent of our extended double crochet, then that chain 2, then a double crochet into that extended double crochet of the previous row, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, and so on all the way back to here, where you're going to double crochet into this third chain right there. So let's do that. Now if you ever become well, you won't become disoriented on this row, but if you ever become disoriented where you're starting a row at this corner, you can find your beginning spot by looking for your tail. All right, so we're going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn your work. We're going to go right into the space at the top of this extended double crochet. Do a double crochet, yarn over, go into the space, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, double crochet into the next double crochet, going under those 2 threads, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, chain 2, and then we're here at our corner. We're going to go into the 3rd chain. There's 1, 2, 3. So right into that chain I'm going to make a double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so now our triangle matches our picture, and what you're going to do is you're going to make this triangle until it is about let's say 12 inches across here, 12 inches or more. So you're going to have the option to make this, you know, larger or smaller. I'm probably going to make mine maybe, let's see, maybe 12 or 13 inches across here. And you want to end on an odd row. You want to end on one of these row 5 or row 3 rows. They're the same. They're identical. So you want to end down on this corner here. All right? And then I'll meet you back here when I have my triangle that length as well, and I'll show you the next step. So I just want to make one little correction, and that is when you finish your triangle, you want to end on an even row, not on an odd row. So end on any row 2 along the way. When your piece along this edge measures at least probably 12 inches or more, you can decide what length you want. The double of that measurement will be the circumference of the portion that goes around your neck. So just think of it in that way. If you want the circumference to be 26 inches, make it 13 inches long. If you want it to be 28 inches around, make it 14 inches long on this edge of your triangle. But make sure you end on a even row, okay? One thing I want to point out to you when you're choosing the length for this top edge of your triangle, that's going to be half of the circumference of your of the cowl part. I want you to choose a length that is about 1 inch longer than what you actually want, because as you make the cowl part of it, it is going to tighten up probably about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So make it at least 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer along this edge than you want for your circumference. So this edge here is going to be doubled. So for instance, I did 13 inches. On the other side will be 13 inches. But because it tightens up a little bit, mine's going to end up being more around 24 to 25 inches, not the full 26 inches. Just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so I've done a total of 14 rows, and I'm at 13 inches along the long side. So now I'm ready to begin the cowl part, and let me show you how that's going to work. Okay, so you can see that I've finished here. This is the end of an odd row, and I've turned the triangle like this. Okay, so we have our triangle. This is our lattice, and as you can see also, as you've been making this, you can probably see that this would make a great shawl just all by itself. You just keep going. All right, so now for row 1, so this is going to be made in 2 sides, and we're going to connect one side to the other. If you were going to make this in one color, you could make your 2 triangles and then work this pattern in the round. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to do it in the 2 pieces if you're going to make it like I'm making it. So row 1, here we are right here. We're going to chain 5, and then we're going to double crochet right into this corner here. Then we're going to chain 2, double crochet into this corner right here, chain 2, double crochet here, chain 2, double crochet, and so on all the way to the end corner here. And on that one you'll go into, I believe it's like the 3rd chain. So let's take a look at that here. Okay, so let's do our row 1. So we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go to this first corner here, which is right here, and we're going to do a double crochet. When you're doing this, I like to keep my loops from getting too elongated like that. So I keep them so that the stitches are all kind of consistent with what we're making. Okay, so then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to double crochet into the next spot here. Chain 2, double crochet into this next spot here, that next corner, chain 2, and so on all the way down the line. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so here I am at the end of row 1, and I'm going to go into this chain here. It's the 3rd chain, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do that last double crochet in there. And now we are ready for row 2, and row 2 starts down here. And it's going to start with chain 5, just like we did here, and then you're just going to double crochet into the double crochet of the previous row, chain 2, double crochet into the double crochet, and so on all the way to the end. And then you will just work this pattern, row 1 and row 2, and alternate until you have the height of the neck portion of the cowl that you want it to be. So let me show you row 2 now. All right, so let's do row 2. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going to turn our work, and then we're going to just double crochet into the first double crochet here. Whoops. Chain 2. And when you're doing double crochets after chains, they can be a little bit challenging. Just do your yarn over, go into that next stitch, keep everything kind of right next to that stitch there, just use your index finger, yarn over, pull through your loop, push this down to the back a little bit, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You're just going to do that in each double crochet along, and then you'll work those rows until you have the height of your, how high you want it to be on your neck. And I'll meet you back here when we have that at the height that we want. At the end of row 2, and I just want to point out that your very last double crochet is going to go into the 3rd chain. So it's that center chain. You can either count from here or from here. I'm counting the back bumps. 1, 2, 3. And then you're ready to just begin again with chain 5 and start all over again. Turn your work and just keep going. Okay, so I have finished the neck portion of mine. I did 10 rows, and with my level of stitching, that gives me about a 6-inch high cowl. And as I mentioned before, my triangle had been 13 inches, but when you make this up, it's going to shrink just a little bit. It's more like 12 inches. So on the other side, what I want you to do now is I want you to make another triangle the identical size. You certainly also have the option of making one side longer than the other if you want to. That's another option that you have. So make your other triangle, meet me back here, and then I'm going to show you how to add the neck portion on while attaching it to the first piece all at the same time, so there's no sewing or ends to weave in. Okay, so I have my second triangle done. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 rows. I think that's the same as the first one. It's a slightly different yarn, so it's actually a little bit bigger, but that's fine. So now I'm going to show you how to make the neck portion on this triangle, while connecting it to the first one as we go. So let's start that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the place where we started the neck portion on the first one. So this is the top of our triangle. This was our first row here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this very first corner, and I'm going to do actually, let me do this. Put your yarn over on this side. Okay, I'm going to go into that very first corner right here, and I'm just going to do a slip knot, which is basically a chain. So that counts as our first chain. So if you recall, we start by chaining 5. So that's going to count as our first chain. Then we're going to chain 1 more, and then the next one we're going to slip stitch right into this corner here of that first row. Okay, so we've got our first 3 chains there. Now we're going to do chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to do our double crochet into this corner here. I'll just show you again. So we did a slip stitch on that first chain. We did our second chain. The third chain was another slip stitch, which was to connect it. Then 2 chains, and now we're going to do our double crochet right into this corner spot here. And there's our corner spot right there. So we're going to yarn over, go in there, and make a double crochet. Now we're going to work the rest of the row the same way that we did before. Chain 2, double crochet into that corner spot, chain 2, double crochet into the next corner spot, and so on, and then meet me down at the end and I'll show you how to connect to the other end. Okay, I've done the second to last double crochet here of row 1, this one here. I've done my chain 2, and now I'm going to do my last double crochet, but I'm going to also connect it to this same spot on the other side while I do that. So let's find that spot that's right here. You can see that this is the top of our triangle because you can see these little mini triangles here. So this is going to be the bottom of that last double crochet. So I'm going to start it by yarning over. I'm going to go into that third chain, and then I'm also going to go, keep my yarn up here, I'm also going to go into this corner spot right here. Then I'm going to do my yarn over and pull through a loop, and then I'm going to finish my double crochet. 1, 2. And now I'm going to connect it with a slip stitch to this next corner here. And that's going to be my first chain. Now you want to keep your yarn above you. So let's go into that stitch there. I'm going to do a slip stitch in there, and that counts as my first chain. 1, 2. Remember, we need to connect it up here as well, so now we're going to connect here like we did on the other side. Oops, and I gotta keep remembering to keep my yarn above the work and over to the right. So I'm going to go into that stitch there, chain 1 or slip stitch, and then chain 2, 1, 2, and then I'm just going to turn my work, and I'm going to work back the other way the same way that we came. So we're going to go into this next double crochet here, chain 2, and we're going to work that row all the way across. I'll meet you at the end here. Okay, so I'm getting towards the last ones here. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and now we're going to just do the same thing that we did on the other side, which is we're going to do a double crochet and connect it right into that spot there. So I'm going to yarn over, go into this spot, double crochet, and now I'm ready to do my chain 5, and my first of the chain 5s is going to be a slip stitch to the next spot up. So we're going to go in here. That's my first chain or a slip stitch. That's 1, 2. The third chain is going to go into the next corner. That's 3, 4, 5. I'm going to turn my work, and I'm just going to work back again along this row. And I'll show you that one more time. I'll meet you towards the end.
stitches on this row here, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, right, chain 2, and now we're going to do a double crochet where we connected at the bottom. So we go over and we're going to go right into this same spot as before and double crochet. Then we're going to go into this spot here and make our first chain 1. Then chain 2, and then the third chain is going to go slip stitch into here. That's the third chain, then chain 2, 1, 2. We turn our work and we're going to come back along this row. So we go right into this next double crochet. And you're just going to keep doing that back and forth until you are even with the other side and it's all matched up. And then when you're done with that, I'll meet you back here to show you how we're going to weave into the lattice that we have created.
Okay, so here I am at the very last stitch of the very last row. I've done my chain 2. I'm going to do my double crochet right into that corner there, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, the third chain here. And then I'm just going to chain 1, and I'm going to cut this yarn. And I did the same on this side here in this color. So now let me raise this up. So now we have our lattice that we're going to work with to weave into. All right, and I have one color on one side and I have another color on the other side. And so I'm going to show you 2 different ways of weaving your lattice and weaving your lattice cowl. And you can either, I'm going to do one side in one way and I'm going to do the other side in another way. So you'll be able to wear it with the 2 different styles, or if you like one better than the other, you can do the whole thing in the style, the type of weaving that you like best. Of course, you'll just want to weave in these last tails as well. So let's take a look at how we're going to do the first type of weaving. So the first type of weaving that we're going to do involves taking the 2 strands of the number 6 yarn and weaving it in and out. And you're going to end up with this beautiful, nice fringe at the ends. The second way that we're going to do on the other side is doing this surface crochet. And I just want to show you here, I'm going to be doing it with a single strand, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like if you use a double strand for doing that. It's a little bit thicker, and so you can choose, you can experiment and see which one you like best. Let's do the weaving part first. Okay, so the way this is going to work is we are going to start in this very first corner and we're going to work our way up, and then we're going to come back down through here. So we want a double strand that's going to give us at least, let's say, 4 inches of fringe, and you can choose whatever length you want. You can always shorten it up, so So I'm going to do this amount over here. And this amount over here. So that should give me about the right amount. And I'm just going to take this end. I'm not even going to bother to cut it, but that's just for getting the amount that I'm going to need. And you can either just do this with your fingers. You can just weave it in and out with your fingers, or you can thread the yarn into a yarn needle and do it like that. So you're just going to go up, down, up, down, up, down. Just going to weave it, pull that through. And we want this one to be, oh, I pulled it too far. Okay. Had the right amount before. Just measure that again. Okay. So then when you get up to the top, you're going to want to come so that you're going to be going the opposite way on the way down. So we want it to go up through here and down through here. So we're going to go up through here. You see that? So that this line here is covered on this side, but over here it's exposed on this side. So now that we have that, we can just weave it. And then just gently pull that through. And you want to weave it so that it's not too tight, because you don't want to pull. And we want to make sure that these yarns are not twisted. Okay. And then once it's the right length and it's woven in there, we're going to cut the ends there. And we will we'll trim those evenly at the end. So now we're going to do the next row. So I want it to be and I want it to match up here. We're going to have a total of 4 rows. So I'm going to, that's going to be my end right there. I'm going to match it up with this end here. I'm going to thread my needle. And I'm going to, on this next one, I'm going to go in the, we want to just make sure that we're going to be in the opposite direction. So we're going to go up through here, over, and okay, we're just going to gently pull that through. And I'm going to pull it through till we have my tails match up with the other tails. Got that length there. All right, and now I'm going to go up through here. And then I'm going to weave it in and out. And just gently pull that through. And then I'm going to cut those ends. Let's make sure we have everything's all lined up. Yep. So I'm just going to cut this end here and cut these ends here. All right, and so you're just going to do that all the way across, and then I'll meet you back here when this is all completed, and then I'm going to show you how to do the fringe, and then I'll show you how to do the other side. So I do want to point out to you that depending on how many rows you've done, in your neck portion, you're going to have what looks like more like tiles. You see how they're offset? And then down in the triangle portion, they are going to be aligned. They're all going to be parallel with each other. So if that's the way it's turning out for you on yours, that's correct. And if you have done extra rows and you might also be having tiles on this end. I haven't done the math on it, but just know that that's okay. So, and it's going to look really cool. Also, as you're going along, make sure that you're stretching it out so that it's not going to be overly tight when you are wearing it. Another thing you can do is, if you don't have number 6 yarn for weaving, you can use a worsted weight yarn and just double it up 4 times. So a doubling of the worsted will give you approximately the 6 or triple. So you can just decide what would work for you. And you could, another thing that you could do too, which might be kind of cool, is to do one row that's like an accent color. You know, so you might have just one stripe down here of, say, navy blue. That might look kind of cool. So that's something else, that's another option that you have available to you with this project. Another option you have here, if you would like, is with the weaving, is you could go in the opposite direction. So you could do, one this way, and then do some going this way as well, and have fringe on both sides. So, that's something you could play with. Might be fun to do that. So let me show you now how to, actually before I do the edging, let's go to the other side and let's do the surface crochet. Okay, so for the surface crochet, I'm going to show it to you here using a single strand of the Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick. So we want to match up the fringe that we have on this side. So we want to have 2 fringes coming out at the end of each of these. So the way that we're going to do that is I'm going to double up the bottom of this yarn before I make my slip knot. to kind of exaggerate the length so that I don't so that I have enough. So you're going to double it up, and then you're going to wrap it around, and you're pulling through a loop, and you're also pulling through this little bit here, and you're going to pull that tight. Pull it really tight, actually, because we want to make sure that this doesn't come out. And when you go to start, you're going to want that tail to be underneath, and we'll clip that afterwards. So what you will do, you're going to tighten up that loop on the hook, because it is a slip knot. This is going to be our fringe. Remember, we want this underneath. Okay, and then we're going to grab our working yarn. The working yarn is going to be underneath our work. And we're going to go into this very first triangle here. We're going to go down in there, and we're going to grab the yarn from underneath, and we're just going to make a chain. Okay, and afterwards we will cut those little tails close on the inside, and then you're just going to go into each space along and chain all the way up like so. So you just keep going up. You'll find kind of, I think, putting your hand on the inside, bunching it up, makes it easier to do this. And then you're just chaining. Now the thing to make sure that you're doing is make sure that you're not, that your chains are not so tight that they won't, and I cut that tail there already, that they're not so tight that they're bunching up the lattice. Okay, just going in here, all the way up. All the way up. Go over this last one here. And then we're going to do one on here. And then we're going to turn the work, keeping that yarn underneath. Just kind of bunch it up in my hand here. And you just keep going into the next space and making chains. Again, making sure that they are large enough that they're not constricting your lattice, that it's not bunching it, pulling it tight. So we're just going to come all the way down. All the way to the bottom. Okay, so the way we're going to handle the fringe on the way down, the second end, is we're going to make a chain. That's your last chain that goes over this bar here. Then we're going to do one more chain. That's going to be our knot, but don't tighten it up yet. You're just going to cut it so that it matches the length of the other fringe. And then you're going to take another piece, you're going to double it over so that it's the same length. Cut that. And then we're going to, before we tighten this up, we're going to put this through here. Okay, kind of like regular fringe. And then we're going to tighten it up. Okay, and that will hold nicely. So we'll end up with 3 fringe on every other one and 2 on every other one. All right, so let's do one more of those. Okay, so we're going to get our fringe same length as these guys. I'm going to make my slip knot with this little guy sticking up in there. I'm going to tighten that up really tight. And this piece won't come through. You can't pull it. The only thing that slips is the loop. We're going to put our yarn underneath. Our working yarn goes underneath. We're going to go into the next space right here. I'm going to grab my yarn. Oops. Grab my yarn and make that first chain. All right. Now I can get going. Just go into each space, make these chains. So all the way up to the top, do that last one, turn the work, do one more on this one, on this top, basically like a slip stitch, and then we're just going to continue down the other side. And it's helpful if you just kind of bunch it up in your hands. You have your 2 fingers under here working the working yarn, the working end. And you're not going to be doing this too tight because, again, you don't want it to scrunch up the lattice. Okay. Okay, let's make sure that that's looking good. We do our last one, and then one more. That's going to be our knot. Just hold it there loosely. Cut your tail to match the length of the other tails. Then grab another piece, double it over to about the same length as the other tails. Cut that. Then we're going to put this inside of this loop here. And make a little tassel knot here. Okay, then we're going to pull this yarn through. We're going to tighten up that there, And then we can tighten up the tassel loop as well. And that will hold perfectly. All right, and we're going to trim all of these tails at the end. So go ahead and do that all the way down, and then I'll meet you back here to show you how to make the tassels, how to unravel them and make them look cool. So I'll show you here. I'm just going to take this one, I'm going to cut it, and then I'm just going to stuff it in behind that chain. That's all set there. All right, so I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I have all of these completed, and now I'm going to show you how to make the fringe fuzzy, like this. It's really soft. So all you do, and we'll you can trim it up now a little bit if you want, or you can just wait until after you've fuzzed it. So the way that it works is you just take your strand, and you can see that it's a twirled strand. So what we're going to do, actually let me just zoom in a little bit here. We're just going to take it and untwirl it. Get those two ends apart, and then I'm just going to work it all the way up until it's all untwirled. And of course this is optional, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it's for a certain look. And you just do that all the way down on each strand. And then when that's all done, I'll show you how to trim it. So just go ahead, and if you're going to do yours like that, and then at the end I'll show you how the whole thing looks.